Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to another interesting story under the Azadi Kamrat Mahaswa story series by Mommy Show Musings. Today, let us move to the one of the most beautiful and smallest union territory of India, located in Arabian Sea. Most of you who are well versed with Indian geography by now would have guessed to which union territory we are going today. It's none other than Lakshadweep, my dear friends. This is the union territory which has witnessed plundering right from the ancient times till Britishers time, and it was being neglected from all sorts of development just because it's situated little far away from the Indian mainland. Lakshadweep, as the name suggests, is not 100,000 islands as per the Sanskrit language or the Hindi language, my dear friends. This might be because that first recorded, it might be because that during the first recorded period of Lakshadweep, there might be so many islands which people never bothered to count, and they were just casually gave the name Lakshadweep or Lakadweep at that point of time. But today, as per the Indian Geographical Survey and other statistics, we do have only a group of 36 islands, out of which 10 are being inhabited by various city people, and 17 are uninhabited islands, and five are the drowned coral reefs, and the remaining four are being the newly formed islands, which are being formed due to the vagaries of the mighty ocean that surrounds these islands. And look at the beautiful ash strip located in the Agati Island, which is surrounded by sea on all the four sides. I mean, don't you think it's a dream come true for the passengers when they're landing from the aeroplane on this beautiful ash strip? But I wonder how experienced the pilot should be to drive their aeroplane for either takeoff or landing on this thin airstrip at Agati Islands. Kavarati is the capital island of Lakshadweep, where people from Indian origin still have to, I mean, can go, and for any other foreigners who wish to visit Lakshadweep needs to get special permission before visiting there. So, come on, my dear friends. Such a beautiful group of islands which would everybody would definitely like to explore at least even once in their lifetime. But what about the history? How did this group of islands become a part of Indian subcontinent? When were they originally found? The first recorded evidence of Lakshadweep or Lakadweep at that point of time was found in the various inscriptions that are available from the period of Narasimhavarman II or Rajarajendra Cholan's period in various temples. The Valayur inscription of Narasimhavarman II mentions the Lakadweep and how the people there are living at that point of time. And the same holds true with the different inscriptions which are found during the Rajarajendra Cholan's time. That is in the the year of the Common Era, isn't it? Then the next recorded evidence of Lakshadweep came from the famous chronicler or the traveler who is none other than Marco Polo, when he and that in 13th century, and that is the time when Marco Polo discovered the trading route to India through the Cape of Good Hope from South Africa, isn't it? And he has hit upon an island called Female Island, must be the Minicoy Island of the Lakshadweep group of islands. And he mentioned in his travel logs that these islands are being ruled by the queens, and there's so many tortoise shells that are available on the beaches of these islands for anybody to pick up. And remember, in 13th century, tortoise shells are being used by the most of the Europeans to make the fine crockery and the finest cutlery and everything, right? And the tortoise shells are in huge demand at that point of time. But here are these set of islands where tortoise shells are being thrown on the beaches without anybody to pick them up or use them. So they found that these are the places that people have to go take the treasures that are available freely so that they can export it, take it back to Europe, sell it at a higher price, and make money. That is what most of the traders do, right? And that is the starting point of all the plundering and all the looting that started happening on the Lakshadweep Islands. Then, but now in the Indian history books, Cheran Perumal from the Perumal dynasty of Kerala is the first one who is known to have set foot on the Lakshadweep Islands in the 14th century. Apparently, the last king of the Perumal dynasty, Cheran Perumal, got a dream or a vision saying that he needs to get converted to Muslim community, Muslim religion, and then go to Makkah on his Hajj pilgrimage. We do. I mean, this is a story that is being floated in the folklore of Lakshadweep as well as in the Kerala side. So we don't know what is true or what is not here, my dear friends. We need to understand that we are drawing references only from the folklore and folk songs. And this guy has actually divided his kingdom into different people and gave off all his empirehood status to all other people of his family, and set on his Hajj yatra. But unfortunately, he didn't return even after quite a long time. That is when his friends or the other people of the community has started going in search of him. They sent a troop of sailors in search of Cheran Perumal, and those sailors got caught in a storm, very bad storm, and their ship got wrecked in the near the Lakshadweep archipelago. And that is how these group of sailors are the first ones to who have gone and started living on the Lakshadweep archipelago. And they are the as per the Indian history books, they are the first inhabitants of the Lakshadweep. We don't know what is truth or what is not here. And because these sailors were sponsored by the Arakkal kings of Kannur, these are all the people, the Arakkal kings of Kannur are the ones who started ruling Lakshadweep as well at that point of time. And Arakkal kings are the Muslim kings of the Kannur region. And that as the kings are ruling them in a similar way, they had the agents who are once again queens in Lakshadweep. And that is how the female rulers came to Lakshadweep. Uh, Now, most of the people in Lakshadweep are, I mean, not most, I can say 98% or 97% of them are Muslim population. And then you must be wondering, how come you are saying that Lakshadweep belongs to India, and how come we do have so many Muslim population there? And the reason for that is the Hazrat Ubaidullah, the Muslim saint who was on a pilgrimage to Makkah, and at that point of time, during one of the days when he was sleeping, Muhammad Prophet came in a dream to him and told him to take a ship and start sailing to the unknown oceans down towards south, which is like towards the Arabian Sea, and wherever his ship gets wrecked, there is a place where he should go and spread Islam or Muslim, establish the Muslim community there. And that is how Hazrat Ubaidullah started coming down in Arabian Sea, and his ship got wrecked in uh, the Lakshadweep archipelago, and that is when and he had established himself there and started spreading about the Islam beliefs and Islam culture. At that point of the time, in those islands, in Androt is the first island in which he has set foot, and he married a local girl and gave her the name Hamidat Bibi. This actually angered the local rulers, and they started waging war, and they started having fights with all the with the Saint Ubaidullah. And it seems when they came in, a group of people had come down to kill Ubaidullah, Saint Ubaidullah, and his wife. At that point of time, Ubaidullah said, like, we are leaving this place. We are not going to stay here, and we'll move to some other island. And when they moved to that island, by that when he just after these words, the apparently the ruler and all his followers eyesight was lost totally, and these people Hazrat Ubaidullah and his wife had taken a boat and moved to Androt Island. And by the time their boat left the shores of this particular island, the eyesight of the tribal chief and his followers has returned back. This is again once again found in the songs of the folk music that is being practiced religiously by from generations onwards by the Lakshadweep people, my dear friends. So we don't really know again if the truth or the fiction part of it, but we can still see his tombstone and grave in the Zama Masjid in Androt Island, which is still a reverse site for all the Muslim population in the Lakshadweep Islands. So there must be some truth somewhere hidden in this entire story, isn't it? Now, let us talk about the plunderings and the lootings that started happening in the Lakshadweep Islands. The first person who started all this looting and everything is none other our Vasco da Gama, who started at from the Portuguese side, who started looting. I mean, who was attracted basically by the fine coir and the coir-related products that are getting produced in Lakshadweep, which is because coir at that point of time is also scarce for these Europeans, because and they need coir to tie the sails and all the other instruments in the ship, isn't it? So that is when these Portuguese has settled themselves down in the Lakshadweep Islands, and they started looting the inhabitants, original inhabitants, and all those people, taking away all their produce without giving them money. The tribals, as you know, that Lakshadweep falls directly in the trade route between the Cochin and the Cape of Good Hope, isn't it, my dear friends? So no wonder all the Europeans were stopping by in Lakshadweep Islands and they were looting them. And they were torturing the local inhabitants to such an extent that they couldn't tolerate after a certain point of time. So the locals have approached the Arakkal kings once again for their help. And that is when Arakkal kings have sent their sergeant called Kanda Tavanjikara or Katil Tanjakaran, which means the person who has holes in both the ears. Maybe he had some rings like how I'm having today at that point of time in a boat. And when this guy was called by Arakkal kings, this guy is supposed to be from the Alapi region, that's what history says. He loaded his boat with honey, lot of good, rice, all the good produce, which Portuguese really like the wine and all that stuff. And then set on sail to Lakshadweep. When he reached Lakshadweep, he asked, he went to Amnidivi island of Lakshadweep. And before reaching the island, he asked all his sailors to empty the fresh water, which is being filled in the barrels on his boat, and approach the Portuguese in the Amandivi island saying he is in need of fresh water. When the Portuguese soldiers took him to their chief, he said that the reason why he's come down to Amandivi Island is because he is in need of fresh water, as all his water barrels are empty. And the Portuguese sailors went down to his ship and found out that all the barrels are really nearly empty, but his ship is loaded with all the goodies which are not available in the Lakshadweep Islands at that point of time, and they are in need of that. So the Portuguese sailors came back and gave the report to the king. And then the king said, okay, I can give you fresh water provided you set your sail immediately and go. But before you go ahead, you need to at least give me half of what the good produce, which is there in your ship, to us as the price for this fresh water. For which this surgeon, Kanda Tavanjikara, didn't agree immediately, because he said, like, his customers in Africa are in need of them, and they will cut his neck if he parts with half of the produce which is carrying in his ship. So the Portuguese king, chief, tried convincing him and this guy. There was a lot of negotiation that happened from the both ends, and finally he said, just because you're giving me fresh water and you are very hospitable and you are actually given me such a good royal treatment, I will forego with the half of my produce and I'll somehow convince my other customers at the other end. So, and then he asked this army sergeant Kadan Tavanjikara asked his sailors to offload the produce from the ship, and he's being held by the Quasi of that island, who is Kaji Abu Bakr, in this process. And they are called the Portuguese sailors and the Portuguese chief at that on that island for a huge grand feast. And in the feast, they serve the wine. After drinking the wine, obviously all the Portuguese were dead. You know the reason, my dear friends? They used the snake venom, which was carried stealthily in a different bottle all the way from the mainland of India. And when the snake venom is mixed with the wine, it became a disaster for food for all these Portuguese, and they all died on the spot. So that and then the because this island got rid of the Portuguese, they all went into celebratory mood, and then our army sergeant, went back to mainland and reported that this Amandivi island got rid of Portuguese. But what there are still some more islands in which the Portuguese are still staying, isn't it? When the news of this attack went to them, they all came and attacked the people on the Amandivi island and killed the Qazi Abu Bakr and his wife in a huge bloodbath. But still, after that, slowly the Portuguese lost the interest in these Lakshadweep Islands, because continuously one or other attack started happening on them. Because the first attack gave the local inhabitants the courage to basically attack the Portuguese and send them out from their thing. And they were concentrating mostly on the Burma, Malaysia, and those areas. And so they wanted to fortify the Sri Lankan territory as well. That's the reason why Portuguese has left the Lakshadweep and gone back to mainland. And so in memory of this incident, the Parumbali mosque is still remaining tall to cite the bloodbath that happened and the cunning ploy that was employed by Kadavanjikara and his people to kill the Portuguese. And the citations were erected during the Rajiv Gandhi's time in the Parumbali mosque, the serpent mosque in Amindavi Island. So now you might be wondering, okay, fine. What happened then after Portuguese did this group of islands get into Britishers? Yes, my dear friends, this group of islands are still being under the control of Arakkal Kingdom, isn't it? And during the 1807 storm, huge storm, there was a big damage that happened to the Lakshadweep Islands, and Arakkal kings went to inspect that, and the local inhabitants were so unhappy that they wanted to more social schemes to be enacted at that point of time, for which Arakkal kings didn't have sufficient money. So they took loan from the Britishers, which they couldn't repay, and they had to give the Lakshadweep Islands to Britishers, which was, and that is how the Lakshadweep went in the control of Britishers. After Britishers were leaving that during the 1947, they never said whether Lakshadweep belongs to Pakistan or Lakshadweep belongs to India. And it was not there in the agreement documents, and Lakshadweep's fate was remained undecided. And that is when our great Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, with his quick thinking, asked the help of Arcot brothers, and he said, the Arcot brothers sent a fast ship with whatever ammunition that is available with them, and went to Lakshadweep, group of islands, and hoisted the Indian flag. By the time they hoisted the Indian flag, the ship from Pakistan was trying to enter into the Lakshadweep Islands, but seeing the Indian flag flying high in the sky, they went back. And that is how the Lakshadweep Islands became part of Indian main subcontinent, Indian Union. And we are proud to have Lakshadweep Islands among with us, right? Isn't it? This is the most crucial part of India, which actually dictates our maritime routes, the maritime trade, and the ocean security as well. And because of having Lakshadweep within India, we are feeling more safe and secure from all the other invaders who are trying to get their upper hand on the Indian ocean territories, isn't it? So that's all is the story for today, my dear friends. I'll meet you tomorrow with another interesting story from another union territory, because we can finish all the states from the Indian main subcontinent. Meet you tomorrow. Till then, bye bye.